Today, I'm going to attempt 3 different Pikmin 3 Deluxe speedruns, but not your typical any percent category or the all fruits category, a category that involves collecting all 66 fruits and defeating the Plasm Wraith. No, those would take too long and would be boring to watch. Instead, I'm going to attempt 3 of the most random and bizarre Pikmin 3 Deluxe speedruns, which fall under category extensions. It includes the blue juice percent category, a category with the goal of making blue juice the fastest, the bad ending category, a category with the goal of reaching the game over cutscene the fastest, and my personal favorite, the 2 Charlie percent category, a category which involves pulling off a number of skips and glitches with the goal of having 2 Charlies appear on the screen the fastest. I thought it'd be fun to attempt these speedruns and see how well, or bad, I do in comparison to the world record times, and who knows, maybe even get on the leaderboard myself. To prepare myself, I've studied the world record runs for these categories, and even reached out to 2 of the world record holders for inside tips, which I'll share in this video. But before that, for medical reasons, I have to mention that if you enjoy the content on this channel and aren't subscribed, then we'd really appreciate it if you did. Subscribing really helps the channel, and while I would prefer to wait until the end of the video before asking, studies show asking now helps remind people who meant to subscribe but forgot. Now on with the speedruns. The first speedrun I'll be attempting is the blue juice percent category. In this category, the goal is simple: make blue juice the fastest. The 3 blue juices you start with at the beginning don't count. Why blue juice though? Well, besides blue being the best Gatorade color, it's also the only color juice in the game that to make requires 2 different fruits, specifically the Juicy Gaggle and Zespot. Mixing the juices of these 2 fruits will provide some shade of blue juice. The timer starts when selecting land on day 2, and the timer stops when a canister of blue juice is created. The reason the speedrun starts on day 2 and not day 1 is that day 1 was deemed too boring as it's a tutorial day, and the creators of the blue juice percent category didn't want to include this day for a random category extension. Fine by me. Day 2 takes place in Garden of Hope, and the goal for this day is to get the rock Pikmin and rescue Brittany. Right away, I need to throw some Pikmin over this gap before the bridge is formed, so that I can get the Pikmin started on breaking down this dirt wall. Throwing Pikmin over this gap, however, requires using the gyro/motion controls, and specifically with the pointer, a setting where the cursor is fully controlled with motion. Without it, the Pikmin can't be thrown far enough to reach the other side of this gap, or at least, it's very difficult. Before realizing I needed motion aiming on, I was able to get a few Pikmin to the other side, but I couldn't figure out how to keep doing it, and most of the time my Pikmin just ended up in the water. This motion aiming is required to pull off another more precise throw/skip later on in this run, and it's required quite a bit in a different run in this video. And I absolutely despise motion controls in this game, so I would often have to pause the game to change the cursor control between the pointer and stick setting, or just turn off gyro controls entirely, which doesn't help in speedrunning when every second matters. After throwing 7 Pikmin to the other side of the gap, I get the rest of the Pikmin working on breaking down this dirt wall. I then take Alp and whistle the other Pikmin and charge them to start breaking down this dirt wall, which to have the Pikmin reach also requires motion aiming. Once this dirt wall is broken down, I charge the Pikmin to crack the egg to collect sap, making sure to skip the sap cutscene, so that the Pikmin will be faster and stronger for some upcoming battles. And then using my questionable Dendori skills, I delegate some Pikmin to start collecting the bridge pieces and some Pikmin to collect pellets or attack this dwarf Bulborb to build up our Pikmin numbers. After the bridge has been put together, I take the red Pikmin to go discover the rock Pikmin, skipping the Brittany cutscene and strawberry cutscene on the way. Before entering the cave where the rock Pikmin can be found, I also make sure to avoid this data file, and every other data file I come across in this run so that I don't trigger another cutscene to skip. In the cave, I quickly take out the Medusal Slurker and use the rock Pikmin to bring its corpse to their onion so that I can get 8 more rock Pikmin. Leaving the cave, I once again avoid the data file, use the rock Pikmin to break down the crystal wall, collect more sap, and then rescue Brittany. And once Brittany is rescued, I immediately end the day, as the fruits needed to make the blue juice are in Tropical Wilds. And that's exactly where I land on day 3, with the goal of collecting the Juicy Gaggle and Zespot as fast as possible. I immediately take out all my Pikmin, which is faster to do in Pikmin 3 as you're able to take out multiple types of Pikmin at once. I throw Brittany and the Pikmin across this gap so that the Pikmin can start breaking down the dirt wall. And while Brittany supervises, I take Elle for a little stroll through the jungle and all the way to the spot here near the cherry. By the time I do that and switch back to Brittany, the wall has been destroyed. From there, I throw 7 Pikmin to start collecting the bridge pieces in this pile, and 5 Pikmin on the other pile of bridge pieces, so that the bridge will be completed when my Pikmin come back with the goods. I also want to make sure I keep enough Pikmin with me for an upcoming fight. I then take Brittany and the rest of the Pikmin along this path where I throw 2 red Pikmin to attack the Pyroclasmic Slooch, and this is just to have the path cleared for when my Pikmin are carrying back the fruit. Along my path, I also make sure to whistle Alf back to our party, and together we strut our way to this area here with the peckish Aristocrab, who has my Zespot. Now, what the world record speedrunner does in their run, which I'll talk more about soon, is throw a couple of Pikmin into the water, which triggers the drowning cutscene. But what it also does is get the peckish Aristocrab's attention, and triggers them to come to you on shore, where you can then attack it. It's important to attack the peckish Aristocrab while on shore, or this can happen. Oh no! was wrong. I tried the Pikmin drowning technique, but the peckish aristocrab completely ignored my drowning Pikmin and just went to shore itself. I'm not sure if its movement is random or based on timing, but either way it worked out. And once it reached shore, I charged my Pikmin at it to take it out and collect the Zest Bomb. With the Zest Bomb on its way back to base, it was now time to pull off the very precise throw/skip I mentioned earlier, and the hardest part of this run, the BJ scale skip. Performing the BJ scale skip means bypassing the seesaw block weight puzzle that you would need to solve in a normal run to collect 3 fruits, including the juicy gaggle. The skip involves holding a captain while running up the crevice of this tree root. You're able to run up here because in Pikmin 3, the captains and Pikmin run faster, and they are even faster in the deluxe version, which, as we'll see later in this video, allows you to run up walls in certain areas. You want to ensure you're at the peak of the route, and then throw the captain at the specific part near the rock here across from the route and onto the cliff. This throw also requires the use of motion aiming. Otherwise, you won't be able to throw far enough to get the captain on the cliff. This skip was very frustrating. For some reason, I really struggled with executing it, and in this particular run, it took me 11 throws and over 4 minutes before I finally got Elf on the cliff. Oh god, yes. Okay. Don't fall off. Do not fall off. Once Elf was on the cliff, I switched to Elf and made my way up this tree route, whistling Brittany and the Pikmin before jumping into the hole here. And it's in this tree trunk that another Medusal Slurker can be found, and this one has the Juicy Gaggle. And all that's left to do is to kill this Medusal Slurker, collect the Juicy Gaggle, and clear out the path back to base for the Pikmin. Once the last of the 2 fruits has been collected by the Drake, I immediately end the day. Yeah, it's also helpful if you don't leave any Pikmin behind when ending the day, otherwise you waste time being told Pikmin will perish and asked if you want to continue. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know why I hesitated there. After clicking yes, I skipped the cutscenes until the juicing part where a canister of the magical blue juice is created, and thus ending the run. Though this doesn't look like blue juice to me, but I am slightly colorblind. And that's the blue juice percent speedrun, which I completed in 19 minutes and 19 seconds. I do want to mention that I attempted the blue juice percent run 6 times, and only once was I able to clock in a time. In 3 of my attempts, I killed the peckish aristocrab when it wasn't on shore enough, resulting in the Zest Bomb to fall into the water, which with just red and rock Pikmin, I can't collect. In my last attempt, I wasn't able to execute the BJ scale skip. I tried and tried until it got to the point where even if I did make the throw, there just wasn't enough time left in the day to bring the fruit back to base. Which is exactly what happened in my first attempt. In my first attempt, I didn't realize I wasn't at the peak of the route here when doing the BJ scale skip. And by the time I figured it out and made the throw, I had just a little over a 12th of the day left to kill the Medusal Slurker and collect and bring back the Juicy Gaggle, which was not enough time. Okay, well, that's not happening. But 19 minutes and 19 seconds isn't too bad, right? Well, compared to the world record time, yeah, it is. The world record for the blue juice percent category is currently held by speedrunner Jay596, who I also want to give a big shout out to for helping me with this video by answering questions I had and for providing a lot of insights into the runs in this video. Let's break down Jay596's world record run to see how much better his Andori skills are and how he achieved a time of 8 minutes and 9 seconds. First thing to know is that Jay596 plays the North American version of the game, but plays with the text in simplified Chinese, as this saves time in the any percent category, though he is not sure if this carries over to the blue juice percent category. Immediately, Jay596 shows his strong Dandori skills, throwing Pikmin to break down this dirt wall, and then throwing Pikmin over the gap here to get them started on breaking this other dirt wall. While Pikmin work on breaking down the gates, he delegates the rest of the Pikmin to kill and bring back the Dwarf Bulborb and to start working on the bridge. He quickly puts the bridge together and makes his way to get the Rock Pikmin and rescue Brittany at a fast pace, taking him only 3 minutes to complete day 2, compared to me who took 6 minutes and 38 seconds, more than half the time. In Tropical Wilds, Jay596 plays out what I tried to replicate in my run, but obviously much faster. One thing I didn't mention in my run that I did that Jay596 also does is grab the bomb here. When I asked Jay596 why collect the bomb, he said it's mostly collected for looks, since it doesn't lose time, but that if you're lucky, the peckish aristocrab will eat the bomb, which will insta-kill it, saving on time. With the Zest Bomb collected, it was time for Jay596 to pull off the BJ scale skip, which for a professional like him, only takes 1 try to do. For some perspective, Jay596 was 6 minutes and 26 seconds into the run after completing the BJ scale skip, compared to me who was 16 minutes into the run at this point. So yeah. Falling into the tree trunk, Jay596 very quickly takes out the Medusal Slurker and collects the Juicy Gaggle. I didn't show this originally because it's quite embarrassing, but here's my fight against the Medusal Slurker. God, I freaking hate this. Really? There we go, Jesus. When leaving the tree trunk, Jay596 touches the data file, triggering the file to pop up on the screen. I don't think it's possible to avoid touching this data file when leaving the tree trunk, and so you're actually supposed to throw a captain on it after killing the peckish aristocrab, so that there's no pop-up. From there, it's just bringing back the fruit. And when it was all said and done, Jay596 created a canister of blue juice and finished the run at a world record time of 8 minutes and 9 seconds. Congratulations, Jay596. Now let's move on to the next speedrun, where speedrunners race to trigger one of the rarest cutscenes in the game. The next speedrun I'm going to do is the bad ending category, where the goal is to trigger the game over cutscene the fastest. If you've ever played Pikmin 3 before, then you'll know how rare it is to see this cutscene, because triggering this cutscene would require running out of juice, which is almost impossible to do unless you purposely do it, as is the case for the speedrun. Juice is the substance taken from fruit in order to feed the captains on their voyage, with one canister of juice being consumed every night. And while there are only 66 fruits in the game, different fruits provide different amounts of juice, the lowest possible being half a cup, and the max possible being 3 cups. If you collect all 66 fruits in the game, then a total of 97 juice canisters can be created, and that's not including the 3 you get from the beginning. So yeah, unless you pull a Louie and deliberately go out of your way to waste all your juice, or just truly suck at the game, then you've likely never seen the game over cutscene before. And if you haven't, then today's the day. Unlike the blue juice percent category, the timing of this run starts upon selecting a new file, which means the day 1 tutorial day will have to be played. The run will then end on the first frame of the game over cutscene. I start as Charlie and do my best to get through his portion of day 1 as fast as possible, skipping any and every cutscene, as well as completing any forced actions to trigger cutscenes, like whistling the Pikmin here and throwing them to break down a mushroom, or having the Pikmin kill all the Phosphats, triggering the cutscene where Charlie gets attacked before switching to Elf. Elf's section of day 1 is a bit more involved. I do my best to build this bridge as quickly as possible with only 4 Pikmin, and then from there collect pellets and kill and collect the corpses of these sheer grubs to build up my Pikmin party to 21, enough to push this cardboard box. After that, it's just breaking down this dirt wall and reaching the Drake, which triggers the end of day 1. With day 1 completed, that means 1 canister of juice needs to be consumed, leaving only 2 canisters of juice left. So far, pretty easy. The next part of this run is even easier. For day 2 and 3, I land in Garden of Hope, only to immediately end the day, which by doing so, consumes the last 2 canisters of juice. So when landing in Garden of Hope again on day 4, that means there are no more canisters of juice to consume. And when there's no more canisters of juice, you're not allowed to end the day, which means I have to find another way besides starvation to kill myself. Luckily, in Garden of Hope, there's a dwarf ballboard very close to base here that can kill me. We're out of juice! And that's the bad ending speedrun. I had reached the first frame of the game over cutscene in 10 minutes and 20 seconds, which compared to the world record time of 8 minutes and 18 seconds, isn't horrible. My time even lands me in the 15th spot on the leaderboard. Sorry, Asiatica. Let's quickly look at the world record run to see how they achieved their time of 8 minutes and 18 seconds. The world record for the bad ending category is currently held by speedrunner Sbudiver. Now, I noticed in their run the timer starts when they select the game's difficulty, and not when a file was selected. The speedrun rules state the timer starts upon selecting a new file, but other speedruns on the leaderboard also start the timer when selecting the difficulty, so that's what I followed as well when reporting my time. Sbudiver also plays the game in a different text language, this time German, which I assume also saves time similar to how Jay596 plays in simplified Chinese in the blue juice percent category. Another thing I noticed is that Sbudiver selects the hard game difficulty. Some of the differences between the normal and hard difficulty is that in hard difficulty, the daily time limit is approximately 4 minutes shorter, and enemies have more health. And since there are some enemies to kill in this category, you'd think the run would take longer on hard difficulty. Well, I asked Sbudiver about this, and while playing on hard difficulty will lose about 2 seconds on day 1 because of the big mushroom in Charlie's section, it will then save 5 seconds on killing Elf, as on hard difficulty, Elf has less health, so he'll die quicker from the dwarf ballboard. Unsurprisingly, Sbudiver makes quick work on day 1, as speedrunners like him have every path and action of the run memorized. And only after rewatching his run did I realize I made some wrong assumptions in my run. For example, you only need to break down the 1 mushroom here to trigger the next cutscene, where I thought you had to break down all of them. I also assumed you had to kill all the Phosphats to trigger the cutscene where Charlie is attacked, but Sbudiver just lights up these 2 mushrooms and walks over here to trigger the cutscene. I'm going to be honest here, I've only ever played Pikmin 3 once before this video. And then from there, Sbudiver shows his strong Dindori skills to finish the rest of day 1. For perspective, Sbudiver was 4 minutes and 34 seconds into the run when ending day 1, compared to me who was 6 minutes and 23 seconds into the run. Day 2 and day 3 play out the same, with Sbudiver landing in Garden of Hope and immediately ending the days. And then day 4, Sbudiver lands again in Garden of Hope and immediately walks over to the dwarf ballboard to kill Elf in 10 seconds, or 10 bites, compared to my run where it took the dwarf ballboard 15 bites to kill Elf, as another mistake I made was playing on normal mode. And that's how Sbudiver reached the game over cutscene and clocked in a world record time of 8 minutes and 18 seconds. Congratulations, Sbudiver, and thanks again for some of the info you provided on this run. While I'm confident I could have brought down my time, I want to save my energy for this next run, which is the glitchiest and hardest of the 3 runs in this video, and one that will have you seeing double. The last bizarre speedrun I'll be doing in this video is my personal favorite, and it's the 2 trolley percent category. The goal in this speedrun is to trigger 2 trolleys on screen the fastest. How is this possible, you might ask? Well, let's just jump in and find out. The timing of this run starts upon selecting a game difficulty, which means it will also include the day 1 tutorial. And spoiler alert, this is the only day the run will include. I start the day as normal. I discover the yellow Pikmin, gather them all up, but instead of making my way to the cave where Charlie ultimately gets attacked by the behemoth Frostbat, I throw all but 1 Pikmin against this icicle barrier. From here, the run can be divided into 3 parts. The first of which is called Day 1 Escape, a name coined by speedrunner A-Person13 and Drought Ender. This part involves getting out of bounds and all the way to the other side of this icicle barrier. Now, I've seen different runs of the 2 trolley percent category, and for the Day 1 Escape part, some take a Pikmin with them and others do not, including the world record speedrunner. I truly don't think it matters if you bring a Pikmin for this part, but I don't like to travel alone, so I brought one with me and I've named them Pauline in honor of Pauline's debut in Super Mario Party Jamboree. I first throw Pauline onto the cliff here. Then I run up this part of the hill next to the tree root, which again, is possible to do as the captains in Pikmin 3 Deluxe can run faster. I found it easier running up the hill and then pushing against the tree root while whistling. You'll be in the best spot when you have the cursor on this rock. Once in this spot, I just move left and around the root to get out of bounds, which is a lot easier said than done as I struggled the most with this part. It just always felt inconsistent to me and most times I'd fall before I'm able to get around the root, but that's pretty much how you pull this off. I then whistle back Pauline and grab her, which again, I don't think is required, but here we are. This next part I also found inconsistent, but I had the most success running up the tree root here where this leaf hangs, and pushing up and to the left to get over the other side. From there, I just followed the trail of leaves until I reached this next set of tree roots. Still holding Pauline, I trust in the Pikmin gods and make my way past this first root. Doing this can feel very scary as it feels like you will fall, and sometimes you can, which is very annoying because then it means you have to restart from the beginning. But just make sure you're holding up when walking past the root and you should be fine. And then from there, I just run up the root here along this line. Now, it should be noted that there are invisible walls out here in Out of Bounds land, and so for this next part, it's important to push as far right as possible here when walking to the next part. Otherwise, you will slowly be pushed back in bounds, which happened to be a couple of times. Okay, this might be a problem. But I eventually learned you can avoid falling off the cliff if you just quickly walk back to the tree trunk here, which avoids restarting from the beginning. Wow, okay, well we can do that, I guess. This next part is f***ed up. Once I reached this general area, I had to start moving back and forth while holding up on the joystick, which was a very painful process. Oh god, who said video games wasn't gonna work out? I had to hold my controller down on my desk with one hand and use the other hand to constantly go back and forth, slowly edging my way up the hill until I reached this white spot here. And needless to say, this f***ed up my controller and caused some drift later on. I think I f***ed up my controller. This white spot is a safe zone where the invisible walls won't push you back, but there is another invisible wall here along the shadow of the tree branch. So to get even further out of bounds, I make my way around the invisible wall and painfully continue to move back and forth, slowly moving up this hill until I reach this shadow, which is as high as you can go. And from there, I just follow along the shadows of the tree branches down to the top of this cave entrance, and then walk over to the other side, which also made me feel like I was going to fall, but it was surprisingly easy. Once on the other side, it's important to keep following the shadows as far right and up as possible, otherwise this will happen. Oh, leaf. Once I reach the area next to the tree trunk shadow, I then make my way down back in bounds and on the other side of the icicle barrier where I had left my Pikmin on the other side. I then switch to gyro control so I can whistle far enough to bring the Pikmin back in my squad and together enter and make our way through this cave. That concludes the Day 1 escape part of this run. The next part of this run is called Backdoor Frostbat, and it's more glitchy than the first part. I start by making my way down to this area and throwing all my Pikmin in this corner here against the tree trunk. I then head into this narrow path and run up the wall here just to the right of the hanging leaf and out of bounds, which is pretty easy to do, especially compared to the Wii U version of this run, which requires using bombs to get out of bounds. Once out of bounds, I walk along the edge of the cliff until I reach this tree root, which you can simply walk around like so. It is easy to sometimes fall down back in bounds when making your way around the tree root, but at least it's also easy to get back up and try again, unlike the Day 1 escape part. After I get around the tree root, I then have to clip through this other tree root, which is possible to do since this root doesn't have any collision. Once you start going into the root, that's when you know you pulled off the clip. Jay596, the Blue Juice % world record speedrunner, also has a tutorial video on this part, and he recommends slowly walking to the tree root to pull off the clip. But I don't know how to walk slowly, so often I would walk too far when clipping through the root and have to try again. But eventually I found success clipping through the root at this angle and then just anticipating when I'd clip through and to start moving up and into this area. From there, I follow a very specific path, staying to the inside of these plants and to the right of the rocks along the way. Once I reach the second rock, I make a right and walk straight up to this elevated area. It's important to walk straight up and not too far to the right. Otherwise, there will be an invisible wall preventing you from getting up to the elevated area and you'll need to go back, which happened to me the first time. In this area, I then line myself up in front of where these two rocks meet, say a little prayer, and walk straight off the cliff into the frigid river, continuing walking forward and clip into the rocks. Similar to the tree root earlier, these rocks also don't have any collision, so you're able to walk right through them. This is where things get a little sketchy. If you walk too far forward once you clip through these rocks, you will hit the loading zone and have to restart, which happened to me on my third attempt. And when walking along the very narrow path to the next area and you walk too far in, then you'll fall out of bounds and respawn right behind the bamboo gate, which happened to me on my first two attempts. So I fell. I don't know where the f I am. It wasn't until the 4th attempt did I get my shit together. I followed the rocks until I reached the corner of this bigger rock. I then walked very slowly past these plants until I reached the 3rd plant, turned left, walked forward, and fell out of bounds. But instead of respawning behind the bamboo gate, I respawned outside of the Behemoth Phosphate Cave. Using gyro controls, I whistle my Pikmin and enter the cave. And that concludes part 2 of this run. The 3rd and final part is just fighting the Behemoth Phosphate as normal, except for the obvious difference that I'm fighting it as Charlie instead of as Elf and Brittany. I also don't have locking on or the charging ability since those tutorials were skipped, which would make the fight easier. With the Behemoth Phosphate defeated, Charlie is saved by Charlie, and that's when we see 2 Charlies in the cutscene and the run is over. What's also cool is that you can continue to play the day with the 2 Charlies, which must be a mindfuck for the Pikmin. And let me just say, completing this run felt like such an accomplishment. It was just constant skips, clips, and glitches that for some I truly felt I wouldn't be able to pull off, let alone multiple times. Some were painful, time-consuming, and discouraging, and by the end, it had taken me well over an hour to finish the run. But my first attempt at this run was more of a tutorial run, and because the world record time is 8 minutes, I was determined to do better, and this time, I had the confidence and experience. So I did the run again. I once again had a rough start, taking a long time to walk out of bounds and falling back in bounds at the 2nd obstacle. It took me a long time to again walk out of bounds, but then from there I stepped my game up, making quick work of the remaining obstacles, including the walking back and forth up the hill part, pushing through the pain my wrists and arms felt. This time around, I was more aware of the invisible walls. The backdoor Phosphate part goes much smoother. Though I did take a bit of time to clip through the tree root, once I did, I knew exactly the path to follow. And when it came to clipping into the rocks and following the narrow path, I didn't hit the loading zone or fall out of bounds once, saving me so much time. The battle against the Behemoth Phosphate, I will admit, was very sloppy. I was attempting to turn the big light on with the bridge only partially built, which the world record speedrunner CC Charge does. But I took too long and the Behemoth Phosphate started killing my Pikmin, and I was dangerously close to not having enough Pikmin to even turn on the big light. Well, that's hot. I don't get it. No! This is so annoying. Okay, well, I suck at fighting this thing. So I had to go for smaller lights first, and then come back to complete the bridge and turn on the bigger light. But despite the shit show in the end, I was able to finish my 2nd attempt at the run in 24 minutes and 13 seconds. A big improvement from my first attempt, and one that lands me in the 6th spot on the leaderboard. Well, let's quickly look at CC Charge's world record run, where they pull off every skip and glitch effortlessly. For perspective, it took me 13 minutes and 20 seconds to complete the day 1 escape part of the run, compared to CC Charge, who only needed 4 minutes and 30 seconds. It took me 4 minutes and 45 seconds to complete the backdoor Phosphate part of the run, compared to CC Charge, who only needed 1 minute and 47 seconds. And it took me 6 minutes and 8 seconds to kill the Behemoth Phosphate. It only took CC Charge 43 seconds to beat the Behemoth Phosphate, as they were successfully able to turn on the big light with the bridge only partially built, and only needed to turn on 1 small light to finish it off, as they were able to deal quite a bit of damage in between. It's very impressive, and congratulations to you, CC Charge. But yeah, that's the 2 Charlie % run, and I'm thinking I should officially submit my run. I mean, I'm only less than 10 minutes slower than the 5th place run. That's not too embarrassing. Yeah, I think we're gonna do it. Oh, that's awkward. Yeah, I've been playing on an emulator. Oops. So there you have it, 3 of the most random and bizarre Pikmin 3 Deluxe speedruns. Even though I'm not allowed to submit my runs, I had a lot of fun trying out these categories for myself and seeing how I compared to the world record times. Which category was your favorite? And what are some other random Pikmin speedrun categories? Let me know. And as always, thanks for watching.
There's something about watching a washing machine.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so hilarious. I never thought about that.
What? What? What do you think about what?
About there's something about a washing machine. It's hilarious. I never quite thought about washing machine that way again. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Mama spent hundreds of dollars on this shit.
Probably thousands.
Yeah, you're probably right. I remember taking you and Daniel online. I mean, when it was cold. And all kinds of lining up to get your games. And then you'd cry if you couldn't get them.